Tuesday, we did 4, 5, or finished it up, and you should have this page 235 done in your workbook, which is just like most of the first few. And since that goes through about number 12, I thought we would start with number 13, hoping that some of you got a few of them done. Is that okay? So instead of doing 1 through 12, I thought we'd start towards the end, since hopefully you've got 1 through 12 at least done. And knowing how to do these last few will help you do the first few if you don't have them done yet. That makes sense. So 13, identify the slope and y-intercept of the graph of the equation. Remember, y equals mx plus b. If it helps you to remember, m is your slope, b is your y-intercept. So if it's asking for our slope, we're looking at the coefficient of x. So -3/10. That's all we have to do. This is the third page in 4, 5, or 6. Number 13. And then our y-intercept is this b part. That's our constant. So that is simply 4. All right, so hopefully these get to be pretty quick. Guys, you shouldn't be talking right now. You should have your packet out, your phones put away. So we're looking at m for our slope, which is -6. And this constant here is b, which is negative, don't forget the sign, 1/4. Then the next part, we have to write them in the form y equals mx plus b. So we're putting this in for m and this in for b. So we have y equals 1/5 x, and b is -1. So we say -1, right? Is that making sense? Did you get the first few done yesterday to practice? So y equals, here's our m, 5, 6. Don't forget to write your x. And here's your b. Your y-intercept is b, so +11. Don't get all confuzzled when you see a decimal. Just put it into our form. The slope, or the m, is 4/10. Don't forget your x, and then plus b is -3. All right. So you're gonna follow that same process here. Your m is -5, so you're gonna say -5x, and your y-intercept is 3. So you're gonna say +3. So hopefully these are all pretty quick. Here though, we have to figure out what our slope and our y-intercept is in order to put it into the form y equals mx plus b. So if we mark 2 points, look where they're going through the corners of the graph. So there's one here. There's one maybe here. There might be a few, one between that actually too, but let's look at our slope. Remember, this is our rise over our run. So, excuse me, hopefully this helps you with the slope from a graph boom deck that you were to do on Wednesday for practice, or going up 2. So our rise is 2, it's positive, it's going up. And our run is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I could simplify and divide them both by 2 to say our slope is 1/2. So now we know what m is. Now we got to figure out what b is. B is our y-intercept. So that is this point right here. That is b. What does y equal here? Well, y equals 1, 2, 3. So now we know what b is, and we can say that y is equal to what we found to be m 1/2. Don't forget your x, and then b is +3, so +3. All right, so it gets a little bit tricky because we now have words. Remember, this was the last thing we learned about on Tuesday, was when we have an initial value, that is our y-intercept. So this is our b. Our slope is our rate. So we've got to decide which one of these is our initial value and which one is our rate. Well, per gives it away. This is going to be our rate, and this is going to be our initial value. So it's starting with 23 members, and it's going up 2 members each month. So we're going to say y equals 2 times the number of months, x months, right? Plus where the group started at, which was 23 members. Okay, so I know you didn't practice as much with it in words and in real life as we did the other way, just being told. Concert tickets. The table shows the cost for different numbers of tickets, including the $8 transaction fee. So that is our initial fee, right? So that is going to tell us B. Now, we also know that our y-intercept, this is all a review, is the y value when x equals what? When x equals 0. Because it's hitting the y-axis, and that is where x equals 0. So our slope, we have to find our change in y divided by our change in x. So here it's going up 30. These are all going up 30. And here, each of these are going up what? 2. So our change in y is 30. Our change in x is 2. So our slope is actually 15. Now we're saying y equals m. That's our slope, 15x. And then our b is 8, so +8. So $15 per ticket plus the transaction fee of $8. That's what that means. All right, which of the statements are true about the equation of y equals 7/8 x minus 1? So if it helps you, write down the form. The slope of the line is 7/8. Is that true? Is m 7/8? That's true. The slope of the line is -1. Well, it can't be both 7/8 and -1, so that can't be true. The y-intercept of the line is 7/8. No, we just said that was our slope. B is our y-intercept, so the y-intercept of the line is -1. Is the slope of this line negative? We just said it was 7/8. It's positive, so no. That's all we can check there for 22. All right, so the next ones are just going to be a repeat of what we just did for more practice and review. So you just have 24, 23, 24, and 25 if you haven't done those. But right now, if you want to open up and get out your boom decks, that will help. So you can go through Google Classroom or you can go to boomlearning.com. The one that I wanted to practice the most was your from 2 points. I think finding them from a graph is a little bit easier, but what I want you to do is make sure you have some scratch paper or something in front of you so you can write down some of these so it's not so difficult. So looking at second hour or whatever hour you're in, some of these we can get rid of. You don't need laws of exponents anymore or scientific notation. All right. So that pares it down a little bit for you. I think the other ones are all good practice though still, if you haven't done them. All right, so finding slope of a line from a graph, hopefully you did that. Using 2 points to find slope of a line is what I want to practice more of, because you need to know the slope formula, right? M equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So if you think of these points as x1, y1, and x2, y2, you're simply going to put these into the slope formula. So for this one, our slope is equal to y2, which is this 8 here. So I'm going to say 8. And then in my formula, I have a minus. And then y1, which is 5. So make sure you're finding the change in y and then dividing that by the change in x. So we have a 6 for x2 minus x1 is 2. So we have 8 minus 5 on top, which is 3. 6 minus 2 on the bottom, which is 4. So I would say 3/4, 3/4. And then we're just gonna continue this pattern over and over and over again. Is it a little tedious? Yes. Should you write it down? Also yes. But here our slope y2 is 7 minus y1 is 1 all over x2, which is -3 minus x1, which is 6. So 7 minus 1 is 6. -3 minus 6 is -9. So if we simplified this, it would be negative. We can divide them both by 3, and we have -2/3. So here we would say -2/3. All right. So for this one, we're just going to keep on keeping on. The more you do it, the easier it will become. It'll become automatic. 8 minus 8. Well, right away we should see that our change in y is 0. So it doesn't matter what x is, it's going to be 0, our slope is. So we could just stop here and say 0. But if you wanted to practice the pattern, we would say -2 minus 5. So that would be -7. But this is still just 0. So sometimes it does get a little tricky because you have to pay attention to your signs. We're way back to our integer rules, right? 9 minus 3 all over 0 minus, and this is where we have to be careful, a -2. So this is really like 0 plus 2, right? So we end up with 6/2, which is equal to, 3, hopefully, yes. Now you notice right away, hopefully, if you look at these before you start plugging them into your equation, your change in x, your x's are the same, so your change in x is 0. So it's going to be some number divided by 0, which we know is what? Undefined. So we have to type in here, it says type undefined. We would say undefined. Okay. So that is what I would repeat there. You want to do that one, Harper? So if, oops, my M only needs 2 humps. All right. If we have the points 3, 11, and 12, 8. We would say 8 minus 11, because this is y2 minus y1. And then it would be over 12 minus 3. So 8 minus 11, be careful here, is negative 3. And 12 minus 3 is 9. The other thing you have to be careful of is you have to simplify. So I can divide both of these by 3, and it would be negative 1/3. So if you have the points 7, 3, and negative 2, 3, try that one. Hey. Oh, nice. Thanks. Appreciate it. Carter, Miss Nelson has your math packet, she thinks. So here we would say, oh, look at our y's. They're the same. So 3 minus 3 is going to be 0. 0 over any number is going to be 0. So our slope here is 0. If our change in y is 0, then our slope is 0. If our change in x is 0, then our slope is undefined. So look at that one, Harper. That one looks like this. Your 8s aren't changing. So your change in y is 0. That was this one. You had 2 zeros in a row. Well, and that one, look at your x's. That was the one where your change in x was 0, because they were both 4. So your slope is going to be that horrible curse word, undefined. All right, last one to practice. You got to be really careful with signs with this one. So we would have -5 minus, careful here, a -9. So you're really adding 9 to -5, which gives you a 4 on top. Here you have 4 minus a -4, which really means you're adding 4, which gives you an 8 on the bottom. We divide those both by 4, we're left with 1/2, or 1/2. All right, does anyone need to look at the other type of boom deck, or are we okay finding slope from a graph? Anybody want to look at the other boom deck? All right, we're okay. All right, so be sure 4, 5, 1 through 25 in your reinforced packet is done. And be sure those 2 slope boom decks are done. Be sure you turn in those slope boom decks when you get them done. Mark them as done. Make sure they're done in its entirety and with over half of them correct.